This magazine cover highlights Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, featuring a menacing dinosaur illustration and promising 6 pages of new screenshots. The magazine boasts a vast number of game images monthly. Inside, it previews upcoming N64 titles like Banjo-Kazooie, Zelda 64, and F-Zero X, along with reviews of Quake, Weetrix, and Mystical Ninja. A Played to Death section covers Forsaken 64, GT Club, and ISS 98. The cover also offers GoldenEye 007 multiplayer tactics and a free Yoshi's Story Player's Guide. The magazine, issue 68, cost £2.50 and was released in May. This page showcases a full-page advert for Yoshi's Story on the Nintendo 64. It's got that classic N64 logo right at the top, and then it breaks down what the game is all about in a very simple way. Eat fruit, lay eggs, and finally, save the world. Below those headings are pictures of grapes, a Yoshi egg, and then a big picture of Yoshi himself looking rather pleased with himself. Catwar. Underneath Yoshi, it says Yoshi's Story, in a colorful, slightly psychedelic font, and then goes on to describe it as a psychedelic, surrealistic, rumble-pack jiggering, crazy patchwork quilt of an adventure. Bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Trying a bit too hard there. Maybe. It's alluding to the game's very unique visual style, which was definitely something different back then, kind of like a children's book come to life. Right at the bottom in smaller text it says hatching this Easter, and then makes the bold claim that the N64 is the fastest, most powerful games console on Earth. Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? Good old Nintendo hype machine in full swing. This advert is clearly pushing Yoshi's Story as a big Easter release for the N64. Given the magazine is issue 68 from May, and the previous page mentioned a free Yoshi's Story guide, it seems like this game was a pretty big deal for Nintendo at the time. Issue 68 of the magazine, dated May 1998, is heavily promoting the Nintendo 64. A massive Turok 2 advertisement headlines the issue, emphasizing its raw power, with several new game shots. A free Yoshi's Story guide is also promoted, highlighting the game's secrets. The issue features a news section with Nintendo News Network updates. N64 Plays, reviews Masters Golf, 98 and Fist of the Flying Dragon. Twin, reviews, Cover Quake, Weetrix, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero, Aerogauge, and James Bond on the Game Boy. Tips Center provides strategies for Forsaken, Bomberman, GoldenEye, and WCW vs NWO. A Win section offers a Game Boy Pocket camera and printer. Overall, the issue catered to a wide range of N64 interests. The article previews Nintendo's upcoming releases, including the new color Game Boy, scheduled for late 1998. This handheld will display games in color, though only 10 shades, and will be similar in size to the Game Boy Pocket. Upcoming games like Banjo-Kazooie, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and F-Zero X are highlighted, along with the pocket camera and printer. The article also discusses the possibility of connecting the Game Boy to the N64, particularly for Pokémon Stadium, using a 64 GB park. Furthermore, it mentions the Game Boy Light, which allows for gameplay in the dark. The piece notes the original Game Boy's impressive sales figures and emphasizes Nintendo's continued focus on the handheld market, despite the rise of the N64. This magazine page highlights upcoming content and promotions. The Player's Guide section previews Jurassic Lark 2, likely Turok 2, International Superstar Soccer 98, GT Club 64, and Forsaken 64. Next month's issue will have Yoshi's Story tips. The editor announces a magazine revamp with a new logo and more pages. Winners of the Fighter's Destiny giveaway are announced. The magazine received a 90% rating and an Essential Play award for the game. The Best Gets Better section promotes the upcoming issue as even bigger and better, promising exclusive news, previews, UK reviews, and N64 tips. A Nintendo knowledge quiz, Brain Strain, challenges readers with 5 questions. A large Nintendo 64 advertisement promotes the magazine as official, always first, biggest and the best, focusing on Banjo-Kazooie with a giveaway and promoting GoldenEye. This page is all about Banjo-Kazooie. Proper N64 hype. This was an N64 update. It screams at the top. Awesome all-new shots, they're calling them, and it's showcasing this new 3D adventure from Rare, those wizards. Release date slated for July 98, running on a hefty 128 meg cart. That was a big old game back then. They're quoting Shigeru Miyamoto himself, saying only Rare could make games better than Mario, Bit of a bold statement, but everyone was excited about this one. They're banging on about the graphics looking amazing, going from Egyptian levels to snowy worlds and this beach level that's featured quite a bit here. Apparently every level in Banjo is more detailed and colourful than any other 3D adventure. Even Mario apparently. Someone's getting a bit carried away, aren't they? There are screenshots of Banjo getting chased by giant crabs on a sandy beach. And another of what looks like a right grumpy crab who's a boss character. Then there's another picture with a massive shark lurking in the water. They're making out like this beach is a death trap, with crabs snapping at Banjo's hairy heels and sharks waiting to chomp. Cheeky captions. All cute. About a giant crab, yeah right. It's all classic N64 stuff really. Bright, colourful, and looks like a laugh. Page 6 of the official UK Nintendo magazine. They're properly pushing this one. This page carries on the Banjo-Kazooie love-in, still under the news banner. It's got more screenshots from the Egyptian-themed level. They're calling it Walk Like an Egyptian, which is a bit on the nose, isn't it? They describe it as full of stony statues, pointy pyramids, and fantastic flying carpets. Classic Banjo-level fodder, really. The text points out this Kazooie idol in the distance as you enter the level for a majestic view, and then zooms in on Banjo stood on top of a pyramid. Who's that standing on top of the pyramid? If you squint hard, you can just about see that it's Banjo. Real subtle, guys. Another shot shows Banjo looking at some Sphinx statues. They reckon each one has its own dopey Banjo expression. Alright, we get it, it's Banjo. Then there's a bit about a camel, and whether Banjo will ride it. So, do you think that Banjo will be able to ride this camel? You'll just have to wait and see. Ooh, the suspense. Finally, they mention a flying carpet, saying you can give Kazooie's wings a rest by using this magnificent flying carpet. And apparently, the only way to reach the Honey Bear Sphinx is to fly there. So, flying carpets it is then. Looks like your typical collectathon platformer level, bright and colourful, with a bit of Egyptian flavour thrown in. Standard rare fare really, but everyone was lapping it up at the time. This article previews Banjo-Kazooie, highlighting its animal magic mechanic, where Banjo transforms into creatures like a spider. As a spider, Banjo can traverse challenging terrain, and may face boss battles and enemy spiders. The article also mentions the game's platforming puzzle elements involving mumbo-jumbo. In the shortcuts section, the 64DD console is delayed again, and 1080 snowboarding might be pushed to November. Several other N64 games are briefly mentioned, including Virtual Chess and Superman titles. Titus is working on Jungle Bots, Roadsters 98, and games based on the Blues Brothers, Xena, Warrior Princess, Hercules, and a mystery superhero. Ocean has confirmed a Looney Tunes space race game, which promises humorous racing with Warner Bros. Characters. This page is a bit of an odd one, more of an advert really. It's pushing these Collins revision guides, trying to make out like if you use their books you'll have more time for kicking a football about. It starts off at 4:30 p.m. with, "You're studying Newton's law of gravity," showing some poor sod hunched over a book, then jumps to 6 p.m, "You're practicing it," with the same bloke now, out playing footy. Clever, I suppose, linking physics to football, even if it is a bit tenuous. The advert bangs on about how these colourful range of study and revision guides will give you back your spare time and help you get from BS to AS. It's all very textbook advert spiel, claiming they'll boost your grades and there'll be no exam surprises. Right, as if any book can guarantee that. They're trying to sell the dream of revising less and playing more footy, which, let's be honest, is what every kid wanted back then, instead of being stuck inside with their nose in a book. It's got that late 90s style about it, all bright colours and bold fonts. Not exactly game related, but I suppose studying harder means more time for games, which is a stretch, but maybe some parents fell for it. The Game Boy Pocket Camera, released in 1998, was a novelty add-on allowing users to take black and white pictures on their Game Boy. It offered features like crayon and stamp editing, and the ability to print sticker photos using the pocket printer. The camera had modes for taking photos, adjusting brightness, timed shots, and connecting/rotating images. Users could also add frames and create ID cards. The article highlights the camera's simplicity, with features like frames, stamps, and a quirky sense of humor, making it appealing to kids. While basic compared to modern technology, it was a fun and quirky gadget for the Game Boy era. This article reminisces about the Game Boy Pocket Camera and printer, focusing on a contest from 1998 where readers could win a pocket camera set. The contest challenged participants to identify 5 pop stars photographed by the official Nintendo magazine. The article then highlights several features of the camera, including the Play Ball game where you incorporate your face, and Wheels of Steel, a basic DJ simulator. It also details editing modes like draw, mirror, top/down for merging photos, and cut up for displaying multiple pictures. Despite the low resolution, pixelated quality, the article emphasizes the fun and silly charm of the pocket camera, particularly for kids. This page is all about The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time for the N64, proper front page news stuff back then in the magazine days. It's previewing the game, calling it the scariest Zelda yet, which was a bit of a claim at the time, wasn't it? They're banging on about loads of new monsters and dark locations, trying to hype it up. Dana. There's a section called the Monster Mash, talking about a new beastie that looks like a pile of leaves at first glance, but then jumps out at you. Sounds like classic Zelda trickery. And then Chest a Minute focuses on treasure chests, saying some are booby-trapped, and that older Link is more cautious than young Link when opening them. Good bit of gameplay detail there. Screenshots show Link on Epona, his horse, and some dungeon bits and pieces. You can see Navi buzzing around in some shots too, that little fairy companion. They're showing off the chest opening sequence, and a glimpse of this leaf monster too. It's all looking pretty moody and atmospheric, just like they're saying. Definitely got the Zelda vibe, but a bit darker, which is what they were going for. Late April release in Japan apparently, so we'd be waiting a bit longer over here. Typical. 128 meg cart size, that was massive back then, showing off the power of the N64, weren't they? Yeah, this was big news for Nintendo fans. This page previews the scary monsters of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. The focus is on the skull spiders, which hang from the ceiling and require a few sword swipes to defeat, and the Day of the Triffids-esque plant monsters that fight like demons and are defeated by exploiting their attack patterns. The screenshots show Link battling both types of enemies. A sidebar highlights the game's abundance of new content, including more monsters, secrets, traps, and risky chests. The page emphasizes the excitement surrounding the game, with every detail highly anticipated by N64 owners. This page previews F-Zero X, the fast-paced futuristic racer for the Nintendo 64, comparing it to a thrilling rollercoaster ride. Released in the UK on August 14, 1998, it's a Nintendo exclusive that promises intense 3D racing. The preview highlights the game's core features, including its publisher, Nintendo, its 64 meg cartridge size, and screenshots displaying breakneck speeds and twisting tracks. It then dives into vehicle customization, detailing stats such as weight, torque versus speed, body, boost, and grip, allowing players to tailor their races. Red Gazelle's stats are even featured. A Getting to Grips section describes how to adjust vehicle setups to suit driving preferences. The screenshots showcase challenging tracks like White Land 2, featuring dangerous elements. F-Zero X was highly anticipated at the time. Sector Alpha in F-Zero X is a thrilling track, starting with a stomach-churning vertical drop after the starting line. A narrow gully follows, demanding caution. Next, racers ascend a hill before plummeting into a tunnel, another tunnel soon after. The track incorporates dash zones and an overhead loop, encouraging upside-down driving. A straight allows for speed recovery, then another reminder of the upside-down maneuver. Finally, a second loop on an upper track requires a speed boost. An octopus character surprisingly features in the track design. The page also covers the on-screen display and results screen, showing the top 6 racers and their times, essential for qualifying. The game was impressive for its speed and track designs. Tawa. Tonic Trouble, a new 3D adventure game for the N64 from Ubisoft, is set to release in July. The game boasts innovative enemy AI that adapts to the player's health, a significant contrast to the static enemies of Super Mario 64. The game's setting features a vibrant and bizarre world, with mutated vegetables like giant tomatoes and carrots populating the landscape. Ed, the main character, is responsible for the mutant chaos after he spills chemicals into a river. The game promises a colorful and quirky experience, characteristic of the N64 era. Extreme Egg 2, a 3D racing game published by Acclaim, is on its way with improved graphics and bike reactions. The game boasts a 64 MB cart size and is aiming for a release date that is yet to be determined. This sequel promises to be a rival to F-Zero X. The preview showcases 2 tracks, Aquanaut, a dramatic dock setting, and Forge, an industrial level. The page heavily promotes an exclusive compo, where players can design their own cybercycles, including weapons and power-ups, with a pivot mechanism for track adherence. The first prize is a £400 mountain bike, with runners-up receiving the game. Entries which require a design sketch and paint job are due by June 15, 1998. This page is all about winning some swag. It's the Big Blag competition page. They're giving away some decent Nintendo 64 gear courtesy of Fire International, including those Jolt packs, you know, the memory expansion things, and copies of GoldenEye 007 along with official controllers. Not bad prizes at all for the time. To win, you've got to match some well-known Nintendo quotes to the characters pictured. We've got Mario, Toad, Taj from Diddy Kong Racing, Falco from Star Fox, and Duke Nukem thrown in for some reason. Bit of an odd one out there as Duke is hardly Nintendo. Phrases like, "Those alien scum are gonna pay for shooting up my ride. Mamma mia! I am the best. Something's wrong with the diffuser." You need to mark your entry Fire GoldenEye Compo. Then there's a section for manga fans, calling all manga fans. If you're into that Alicia stuff, they're giving away a set of videos, along with Neon Genesis Evangelion Volume 8, and a Super Atragon t-shirt. There's a question about which of the pictured characters doesn't have an animated TV series Pocket Monsters, Yoshi, or Animaniacs. For this one you mark your entry May Manga Compo. Lastly, there's a bit about Superman Transformed. Apparently this is a different take on Superman and they're giving away graphic novels. Question is about Superman's real name, Clark Kent, Peter Parker, or Bill stickers. For this one, mark your entry Superman Transformed Compo. Sorted! This magazine page presents a mix of Nintendo 64 and Game Boy content. Staff members share their favorite Game Boy games during their commute, with Tetris and Donkey Kong Land proving popular. The UK N64 chart shows GoldenEye 007 at number 1, while the US chart is topped by CW vs NW vs NW. Japan's chart features 1080 at the top spot. The ONM Office chart also lists 1080 as the best, and the Reader chart highlights more mature titles like Duke Nukem 64. A review system using percentages is explained. Finally, answers to a quiz are provided, along with a note about Shadows of the Empire cartridges being back in stock. This page looks a bit cheeky, doesn't it? It's got a rather interesting image of a woman posing with a vacuum cleaner, and a magazine called Escort. Bit risque for a Nintendo mag, even back then. Seems to be making a joke about cleaning up magazines, maybe. There are also copies of Mayfair magazine scattered around the bed too. It's all a bit suggestive, playing on the idea of adult magazines being hidden under the bed. Not sure what it has to do with Nintendo, but it's definitely eye-catching, if a bit questionable for a kid's magazine. There's no game information or anything else directly related to Nintendo games on this page. Just this slightly strange, and perhaps slightly inappropriate, image. The next page is a bit of a change of pace after that last one, blimey. This one is an advert for, get this, acne cream. Yep, Oxy on the spot, remember that stuff? It's all bright yellow and blue, proper 90s colours, I tell you. They've got this slogan, whatever else puts you on the spot, it needn't be spots. Bit cheesy, but gets the message across, doesn't it? It's got a picture of the product itself, looking all clinical and helpful. And for some reason, there's a bit of a vacuum cleaner, lurking in the corner, yellow too, matching the page. I guess they're going for the idea that spots are embarrassing, and you want to get rid of them, just like dirt. It's all about not being on the spot because of spots on your face. Marketing, eh? Always finding a way to link something daft to their product. The next page is all about Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. Now this was a big deal back in the day, and still is to be fair. They're calling it the first full showing in yet another OMN World exclusive, which sounds proper important, doesn't it? They're bigging it up, saying it's going to top the likes of GoldenEye, Quake, and Duke Nukem 64 on the N64, which is a bold claim, even if Turok 1 was pretty decent for its time. They reckon the first Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, was good, but had a few issues. But this sequel is learning from the first one. Apparently, there's a multiplayer mode now too, which is always welcome, isn't it? The page shows off the raptor, the only dinosaur in Turok 2 according to them, which isn't quite right as we know there's loads, but hey ho, maybe they just mean this type of raptor. There's a screenshot of it in the game looking alright, and then they show how they made it, with a wireframe model, and then the finished polygonal version. Bit of a behind the scenes peek at how they made games back then, polygon by polygon. Proper old school. So yeah, Turok 2, looking to be a big hitter on the N64, just like they're saying. Turok 2 picks up after the first game, with Turok now facing the Primogen, an even greater threat. Trapped behind a force field, the Primogen's anger fuels the game's narrative. The review highlights the game's atmosphere and anticipation of enemies, including a Hulk-like character. The single-player quest mode tasks Turok with defending energy posts and collecting items to avert disaster, echoing the original's level-based structure. Progress relies on finding keys and sacred weapons to overcome barriers, a common gameplay mechanic of the era. The review suggests more action, larger dinosaurs, and collectathon elements. This page is all about Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, and it's looking pretty good, I must say. They're showing off some of the level designs, calling them In the Middle of the Jungle, the Port of Adia, Slaughter by the River of Souls, and the Death Marshes. Port of Adia sounds like a right state. Apparently it was lively once, but now it's just skeletons and burnt buildings thanks to the dinosaur troops. Cheerful stuff. They reckon the detail on the statues is mind-blowing, bit much maybe, but they do look alright for the N64, don't they? The magazine reckons if Turok 2 looks this good now, the final version will be awesome. Standard hype, but fair enough, it's shaping up well. They're also banging on about multiplayer. More multi-madness, they're calling it. Apparently Turok 2 is going to have a proper 4-player mode, which they think will knock GoldenEye 007 off its perch. Bit bold that, isn't it? Still, they've got team mode, bloodlust deathmatch mode, and frag mode. Frag mode being tag, apparently. Bit basic, but it works. And lastly, they show the stages of creating enemies, from sketch to wireframe to the finished, rendered model. Shows how they did it back then. Proper old school. All in all, Turok 2 seems to be the main focus, and it's definitely looking like it could be a decent step up from the first one. Multiplayer could be a laugh too, if they get it right. This article delves into the multiplayer aspects of Turok 2, introducing the Killing Crew characters. Joshua Fireseed, the speedy protagonist, is featured alongside Akedon, a fast magic user, Perlin, the strong but slow bruiser, Sloth, the self-healing character, Flesh Eater, a tech-savvy character, Gant, a shielded dinosaur, and the hidden fast raptor. Screenshots showcase diverse levels, including a dilapidated building, an elevated walkway, and a waterfall potentially concealing a secret area. The main image depicts Turok fighting dinosaurs in the streets of Adia. The article highlights the game's multiplayer focus, though questions whether it can compete with GoldenEye. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil promises a significant upgrade over its predecessor, focusing on heightened violence, smarter enemies, and a larger scope. The game introduces new monstrous foes like the Dimorphodon, Fireborn, drones, gunners, and Entrail, emphasizing blood, violence, and Dynagore. An interview with developer David Dansbier reveals that the sequel aims to address criticisms of the first game. They've improved the game design, level layout, and incorporated exploration elements inspired by Super Mario 64 and Zelda 64. Players can expect more of everything, including more enemies and unique levels, while minimizing aspects players disliked. The developers maximized the Nintendo 64's capabilities. While details on a potential Turok 3 are kept secret, the focus is on delivering a bigger, better, and bloodier experience. This page gives us a closer look at some of the nasties you'll be facing in Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, building on what the last page was saying about it being bigger and badder than the first. We get introductions to enemy types like the Juggernaut, a big brute with a sword who won't chase you but will slice you if you get too close, the Mite, which sounds like an annoying little insect, the Soldier, described as tough despite its looks, the Hulk, a slow but powerful tank, and the Worker, a flying pest that stings you with poison. The page highlights how tough the game is going to be, mentioning that even regular enemies will be twice as tough as in the original Turok. There's also a section called Firepower Frenzy, boasting about the expanded weapon selection, even more than the original game's already impressive arsenal. They mention freeze rays and fusion cannons, and loads of projectiles to blow enemies and environments to bits. It's stated that not all weapons are in this early version, but they'll be in the E3 special version coming soon. Looks like they were really pushing the boundaries of what the N64 could do, trying to make Turok 2 the goriest and most action-packed game around. This page is all about International Superstar Soccer 98, looks like they reckon it's going to be the best footy game on the N64. They're calling it a sequel to ISS 64, which they say nailed the atmosphere of a real match. Apparently cracking in a 25-yarder in that game felt like you were actually on the pitch. Dramatic stuff. Konami's hoping to lift the cup again, but it seems EA's World Cup 98 is also in the running, so it's a bit of a battle for footy glory on the N64. The page reckons ISS 98 still looks and feels like the original, but they say the coders have improved the overall feel, with super smooth animation still being a big selling point. Apparently every trick you could want is in there: passing, shooting, headers, volleys, the lot. They've even made the sequel slightly faster, so it won't disappoint when the action kicks off. There's little pics below showing off player animation, fluid passing moves with style, and beat those tackles too. Right at the bottom there's a little strip with World Superstars Football, then Have Come Together For, followed by Football Is Coming Home in big letters, and then Cool Action. Bit cheesy, but it's all about hyping up the game, innit? This text reviews features of International Superstar Soccer 98. The game boasts dynamic weather effects, including sun, rain and snow, each impacting gameplay. Sunny weather aids passing but tires players faster. Rain leads to muddy pitches and increased risk of fouls, while snow makes play difficult. The review also details various gameplay modes, such as training, World League, a full season, International Cup, friendlies, scenarios, and options. Additional realism is added through features like a time-of-day progression and detailed animations, including stretcher bearers for severe fouls and rain effects on the ball. The review highlights other gameplay elements, such as the radar and free kick animations, aiming to establish the game as a comprehensive and realistic soccer experience. This page highlights features of International Superstar Soccer 98, focusing on its realism and fun. On-the-spot penalty shootouts use a cursor for aiming with weak/strong shot options. Field of Dreams showcases 9 international stadiums, including the World Cup final venue, with time and weather customization. Celebrate your goal, come on! Details goal celebrations, including classic moves and commentator reactions. How do they do that? Praises the game's commentary team, featuring Tony Guba, for its clarity and depth. Screenshots display gameplay elements like tackles and celebrations. The page emphasizes ISS 98's attempt to provide a realistic and enjoyable football experience. Genta. This guide covers the controls for International Superstar Soccer 98 on the N64. The C buttons are key. Left-click lobs, top-click passes, right-click initiates a 1-2 pass, and bottom A-click provides speed boosts. The 3D stick controls player movement, free kicks and corners. The B button shoots, hold for power, tap for soft shots, and the A button passes. I've got the power section details advanced techniques. The 3D stick and Z trigger are used to curl shots. Holding B powers up shots for extra strength. The screenshots show players performing impressive moves, like overhead kicks. Mastering these controls is crucial for achieving scoring success and emulating football legends. Official Nintendo magazine is excited about International Superstar Soccer 98, ISS 98. Key features highlighted include new camera angles, including a vertical view, and improved AI, particularly for goalkeepers. The game boasts 54 teams, offering more variety than the usual football titles. A handicap mode allows for adjustments to player condition and keeper strength, and a Mr. Motivator feature gives teams a boost when losing. Enhanced replays provide multiple viewing angles. The magazine anticipates a UK release, though transfer deadline events may cause delays. The preview strongly suggests that ISS 98 will be a top-tier football game, building on the quality of its predecessors. This page is a bit of an odd one, right? It's a full-page advert for Halifax Bank, but get this, they're using a Game Boy Pocket to flog their Express Cash account. Madness! Basically, open a new bank account with them before the end of June, and they'll chuck in a transparent Game Boy Pocket and Tetris. Right bit of kit back then, the Pocket. Smaller, sleeker than the original brick. They're pushing this idea of banking level 1 and take control, which is pretty funny when you think about it, using a handheld console to make banking sound cool. It's all about getting your hard-earned cash from over 17,000 cash machines apparently, and checking your balance and all that jazz. They're even suggesting you can reach a new level of independence by having this bank card and a Game Boy Pocket. Bit of a stretch, even for 90s marketing. You had to fill in a form or ring them up on 0800 02 1120 to get an application pack apparently. I guess back then, getting a free Game Boy Pocket was a decent enough incentive to switch banks, especially if you were a youngish sort of person who was probably their target audience. Plus Tetris, always a winner. Can't go wrong with a bit of Tetris. GT Club 64, Ocean's upcoming N64 racer, is being heavily promoted as a potential challenger to the popular Top Gear Rally. The preview suggests it will surpass other N64 racing titles like Multi Racing Championship and F1 Pole Position 64. The game boasts realistic racing elements including manual and automatic gears, difficulty settings, and customizable race laps up to 24. Features like free run and qualifying times indicate a focus on simulation. Visually, the screenshots reveal typical N64 graphics. The game includes visual aids, like red arrows on the track map to indicate corners and braking points. The preview's overall tone aims to generate excitement for GT Club 64, positioning it as a must-have racing game for the console. This page highlights the cars available in GT Club 64's Time Attack mode. It showcases vehicles like the Skyline, Supra, Diablo, Mugen, and Raybrig, each with a profile box containing screenshots, specs, driver information, engine power, and color. Engine power is generally around 6,800 revolutions per minute, except for the Skyline 2 and the unspecified Mugen. Colors follow typical racing schemes. The page also features in-game shots and a humorous comment praising the handling, suggesting it's a key feature. The overall impression is that GT Club 64 aims to be a top-tier N64 racing game, potentially rivaling Top Gear Rally. This cruise control article previews the tracks in GT Club 64. The article highlights 3 tracks: Kyoto GP, Lake Fuji, and Tokyo GP. Kyoto GP is the easiest, with many straights. Lake Fuji requires more skill, especially in the corners, and warns of a tricky final corner. Tokyo GP is the most challenging, featuring hazards and sharp turns. Each track has look out for, and beware, sections providing tips. Kyoto GP features a hairpin. Lake Fuji has a potentially grassy last corner. Tokyo GP warns of a sharp U-bend. An exclusive tip reveals that winning a championship using the JAP option unlocks a 24-lap season and a new American course. The article aims to build excitement for the game's racing experience. This guide covers the N64 controller setup for GT Club 64. The 3D stick steers, the Z-trigger downshifts/reverses, the right shoulder button shifts up gears, crucial for top speed, the C buttons change camera angles, the B button brakes, and the A button accelerates. The game features 3 modes: Championship, Season Races, Battle, one-on-one races with a friend or the computer, and Time Trial, focused on setting the fastest lap. This overview is a solid introduction to the game, especially for those new to driving games on the N64, following up on the previous track preview. Renchi. GT Club 64 offers various camera views, including in-car, over the bonnet, and several behind-the-car options, catering to different driving preferences. The game allows car customization, with 7 adjustable components, like tires and spoilers, enhancing player control. Weather effects, such as rain, impact grip and driving conditions, adding a layer of realism. A stop press section announces the game's expected UK release by the end of June, with the magazine expressing high expectations and hinting at a future review to see if it delivers on its promises. The next page is an advert for a game called Weetrix, and it asks, is it Paul? It's for the Nintendo 64 and PC CD-ROM, showing the logos in the corner. Visually, it's got this kind of 3D rendered look, with blobby characters, one big blue one in the center, and some colorful smaller ones floating around. They're all quite shiny and water-like, which I guess makes sense given the game's name. There's some text saying it's a game that's hard to explain, but you'll be hooked. Something about a water-based solution to your gaming needs. Right at the bottom you can see the Weetrix logo and Drop Everything tagline. It's published by Ocean and developed by YZ2, so it's a British-made game, which is always nice to see back then. It's pitching itself as something a bit different, not Paul obviously, but something you can get into on your own or with mates. This page is a full-page spread for Forsaken on the N64. Blimey, look at those characters, very late 90s sci-fi fantasy vibe going on there. You've got 3 ladies who are clearly the stars of the show, all looking a bit scantily clad, but hey, it was the 90s. One's in blue armor, the other 2 are in gold, and they are all armed to the teeth with futuristic weapons. Behind them is this fiery planet thing, looks like they're about to have a right old rumble on some alien world. Warringtontra. The text bigs up Forsaken as being almost ready to roll, and claims it's going to be the fastest game the N64's ever seen. Bit of a bold claim, considering Wipeout 64 had already been out a while. Apparently it's been featured before, back in December, and this new version has dizzying levels, deadlier enemies and bigger weapons. Missions are more challenging, which is always welcome, and it mentions you'll need to use your noggin. They also mention multiplayer, which is a must for any decent N64 game back then. It sounds like they are really pushing the speed aspect, saying it does take some getting used to, and that it's one hell of a ride, even joking to take a sick bag with you. So yes, speed is definitely the selling point for Forsaken if you could handle it without chucking up your tea. Forsaken's speed on the N64 is again highlighted, with a run-through of game modes. Game On overviews single-player missions, where players eliminate enemies, plant bombs, and defend areas. Multiplayer features head-to-head deathmatches for up to 4 players, supposedly smooth even with the chaos. Battle Mode is standard deathmatch. Tricks of the Tirade offers basic tips, like corner strafing and using mines. Bounty Bars discusses rival bounty hunters attempting to steal money. Screenshots showcase gameplay, including external views and a questionable landing. The text emphasizes speed and action, anticipating the game's release and hoping it lives up to the hype. This piece previews Forsaken, focusing on its fast-paced, chaotic action. Crash and Burn details robotic enemies that remain dangerous even after being destroyed, requiring players to finish them off. Heads Up explains the user interface, covering weapon power, current weapons, ammo counts, secondary attacks, and shield information, including boss shields, providing crucial real-time data. Breaking Out offers beginner tips, starting with a weak pulsar weapon, using the accelerator, dodging, utilizing tunnels for cover, and seeking power-ups. The guide emphasizes the game's unforgiving nature, standard shooter advice, and the goal of becoming quite hard. Overall, the breakdown prepares players for Forsaken's frantic and challenging gameplay. This page dives deeper into Forsaken, building on the last page's preview. It's shouting about how visually impressive the game is, even in still screenshots, which is a bit ironic considering we are looking at still screenshots. They're banging on about the lighting and the speed, reckon you have to see it in motion to truly appreciate it, fair enough. Then there's a section called Ready to Rumble, which is all about the weapons you'll be picking up. They start you off with a pea shooter, the pulsar, naturally, but they're showing off some of the upgrades. Beam laser, standard fare, slices through enemies. Susgun sounds like a bit of fun. Death spewing rapid fire. Mines are there too, for a bit of strategic placement. Multiple fire rocket launcher, orbs, scatter, Gravagan, loads of destructive toys to get your hands on. It's all pretty standard shooter fare for the time, but they are trying to make it sound exciting. Finally, there's a bit called Dizzy Heights going on about the 3D movement and level design in Forsaken. Apparently you'll be flying all over the place in these crazy tunnels, flipping around, which sounds like a recipe for motion sickness if you ask me. They're saying it takes time to master the controls, but once you do, you'll be laying down some serious destruction. Classic N64 marketing hype, but it does look pretty nippy. Forsaken's gameplay focuses on fast-paced action, particularly with its crazy hoverbike driving. Mastering the controls is crucial to avoid crashing and becoming vulnerable. Missions dynamically adjust in difficulty based on player performance, offering a balanced challenge. Exploration is encouraged, with levels featuring Lego brick keys for unlocking doors. The game culminates in boss battles, necessitating strategic use of collected weapons and power-ups. Forsaken promises a blend of fast driving, challenging missions, puzzle elements, and epic boss fights. This page is a Twix advert. It's a bit of an odd one, with a bloke called Norm tied up with Twix bars for the supposed crime of asking for the Bee Gees. Bit extreme, even for musical taste differences. This page from an old gaming magazine is filled with cheat codes and tips for N64 games. For FIFA, Road to World Cup 98, players could unlock different victory celebrations by naming a player Nori and fiddling with settings. Hot Potato Mode offered constant celebrations and poor dribbling, while naming your player Dave granted unlimited player points. Another cheat, for Ashley Hales as the winner, involved manipulating own goals, an unskillful exploit. For Mace, the Dark Age and Unlimited Lives trick used 2 controllers, and a small characters cheat was available, by pressing start with certain highlighted characters. The magazine also had a contest, offering a Macapad controller and tremor pack as a prize for the best submitted cheat, and requested pictures of gamers to be featured. This page reveals cheat codes and tips for GoldenEye 007 and WCW vs NWO World Tour on the N64. For GoldenEye, players can unlock 31 extra deathmatch characters by button bashing on the character select screen. Another allows tank shells to be fired from the forehead by utilizing the infinite ammo cheat and specific level actions. Additional GoldenEye tips include acquiring extra KF-7 assault rifles in water caverns, slapping jaws in the Aztec level, an extended sniper zoom, and a hidden weapon in the train level. For WCW vs NWO World Tour, tips include breaking holds, preventing rope breaks, and executing a somersault roll not mentioned in the manual. This page revisits cheat codes from old gaming magazines. First, for the Yin-64 Fighter Dark Rift, codes reveal character endings, as the developers assumed players couldn't unlock them. The combos utilize the D-pad, C buttons, and shoulder buttons, unlocking endings for characters like Aaron and Demonica. Next, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 offers codes to unlock hidden teams like Hartford and Quebec. The real highlight is the debug mode, activated in options with down arrow/right shoulder, which lets you alter player sizes. Different button combinations change head, body, and height, enabling silly combinations like large players, large heads. These cheat codes offered a fun way to customize the game, proving a welcome diversion from actual gameplay. This Tip Center page offers cheat codes and exploits for N64 games. For Bomberman 64, rapidly pressing start unlocks 4 new battle arenas. In F1 Pole Position 64, finishing the game and holding A and B during loading reveals a secret car. NHL Breakaway 98 allows you to remove the opposing team's goalie through controller settings. Lastly, in Nagano Winter Olympics 98, a complex button combination in freestyle aerials makes your skier land on their head. The page also highlights a Nintendo problem section where readers could submit questions for tips, a free service involving postal mail. This page is a right nostalgic throwback to the days when magazines actually needed response licenses. Look at this, it's a mailback form for official Nintendo magazine, all decked out with Wario's mug. Remember those days? You couldn't just email or tweet your questions, you had to physically cut out this bit of paper, fold it along the marked lines, first fold, second fold, stick it down, and post it off. Don't put anything in this envelope, it yells, which is pretty self-explanatory for a response license really. They've even put cut along this line only, with a little scissors icon to make it dead simple. It's addressed to a Map Images Limited, who published the magazine back then, and it's a free post address so you didn't even need a stamp. Clever design, really, gets the readers involved, without costing them anything to reply. Considering the Tips Center on the previous page was asking for reader questions for their Nintendo problem section, this is almost certainly how you were meant to send in your burning questions about how to beat Ocarina of Time or whatever was puzzling you on the N64 at the time. Good old snail mail, eh? Seems ages ago now in the age of instant messaging and forums. This article reviews a GoldenEye 64 multiplayer guide. The guide highlights several game modes beyond the standard deathmatch, including License to Kill, one-shot kills, You Only Live Twice, stealth focused with limited lives, Man with the Golden Gun, a coveted one-shot weapon, and Living Daylights, Capture the Flag. The author reminisces about the game's enduring popularity. The guide's golden rule emphasizes map knowledge, recommending players find hiding spots, ambush points, and master circle strafing. The article concludes by noting the official nature of the guide, as it was reviewed and approved by Nintendo. This guide delves into advanced player tactics. For GoldenEye 007 multiplayer, strafing and circle strafing emphasizes using C buttons for quicker movement and disrupting auto-aim, a fundamental skill. Circle strafing is highlighted as a classic tactic to maintain sight of an enemy. Body armor blues suggests a less honorable strategy, camping near body armor spawns, especially on temple. Ducking and leaning covers using environmental cover like barrels and walls for ambushes and reloading, with a warning to watch your flanks. Finally, sniper sight focuses on the scope, advising the use of UPC for maximum zoom, and avoiding re-aiming while scoped. Overall, the guide provides essential strategies for multiplayer dominance. This guide offers GoldenEye multiplayer tips. A quick tip lets players cycle weapons backward by holding A and pressing Z. The floating mines trick, bunker only, is a novelty, while the invisible mines trick allows players to hide mines by dropping them on weapon/ammo boxes. Level-specific tactics include defending body armor in a central passage. Facilities' metal doors and armored glass can be shot through using specific weapons, and the locations of 2 body armors are given. On temple, power weapons reliably spawn near a ceiling hole. Finally, bunkers' body armor locations are revealed. This page is all about WCW vs NWO World Tour on the N64. Right then, wrestling games, always a bit of a laugh, weren't they? This one's showing off Lex Luger, the total package himself, looking like he's just smelled something a bit dodgy. They're highlighting some of his manic moves dramatic bunch, aren't they? Specifically the torture rack and standing clothesline. It's got the usual game info blurb about Luger, his weight and height in proper measurements, stones and feet and inches. Apparently he used to play American football before wrestling. Who knew? The page then dives into how to do these moves in the game. Torture rack sounds pretty brutal and involves tapping the 3D stick. The standing clothesline is a bit more straightforward, just hold A and bash B. There are some little screenshots showing the moves in action, blocky polygons and all, proper N64 graphics, and a funny little caption mentioning Luger carrying people like bricks. Maybe his dad was a brickie, they reckon. All tips are checked by Nintendo apparently, so must be legit then. Right, back to the action. This page details 3 wrestlers from the WCW vs NWO World Tour roster. First, Rick Steiner, the dog-faced gremlin, known for his Canadian backbreaker, A, D, P, A, D up B, and Steiner line, A, D, P, A, D up A. Next, Ric Flair, the nature boy, with his figure 4 leg lock, a near legs, and flying knee drop, down on turnbuckle. Finally, Scott Norton, a fearsome, powerful wrestler, executes a shoulder breaker, A, D, P, A, D down B, and a powerbomb, A, D, P, A, D down B. The text highlights their signature moves and provides button combinations for the game, noting Flair's flamboyant entrances and Norton's impactful maneuvers. This page details wrestling moves in WCW vs NWO World Tour, showcasing Scott Hall, Scott Steiner, and Steven Regal. Scott Hall's moves include the outsider's edge, with top rope and pinning variations requiring specific button combinations and timing. Scott Steiner's section covers his belly-to-back suplex and the impressive Frankensteiner. Finally, Steven Regal's moves, reflecting his snobby attitude, feature the Regal stretch and the holding armbar. The guide provides detailed instructions with screenshots, typical of wrestling game tutorials. Wario makes a random appearance at the top with his catchphrase, "Win with Wario." This page continues the wrestling moves guide for WCW vs NWO World Tour, and this time we're looking at SYXX, Sting and Ultimo Dragon. SYXX, who they mention is a Taekwondo black belt, gets the standing buzzkiller, which looks like a headlock slam, and the flying guillotine, a jumping move off the ropes. Sting, the moody face-painted fella, has his signature Scorpion Deathlock, a proper submission hold, and the Scorpion Death Drop, which they hilariously describe as Sting sneaking up on you. Finally, Ultimo Dragon, a proper international star they say, shows off the Dragon Sleeper, another submission, and the Dragon Steiner off the top turnbuckle. It's all laid out with screenshots showing the moves in action, and the button presses you'll need to pull them off in the game. Basic stuff really, but helpful if you're just getting into it. They even have a bit of flavor text for each wrestler, like saying Sting is a pale imitation. Cheeky. Wario is still lurking at the top there, and they've signed off at the bottom with, "That's all folks." Typical end-of-feature stuff from back then. This guide focuses on the Red Mountain and White Glacier levels of Bomberman 64, the second attack. The walkthrough covers Red Mountain Stage 1, providing a step-by-step guide with screenshots, typical of classic gaming magazines. It details bomb placement, bridge navigation, and fireball avoidance. The walkthrough covers guide also helps players find gold cards in Stage 1. Finally, it tackles the Orion boss fight. The guide instructs players to use pumped-up bombs to hit Orion's head and force bombs for damage, while racing against a time limit. Overall, the guide's primary goal is to aid players struggling with these challenging levels, offering assistance and strategies to progress. This guide continues the Bomberman 64, the second attack, walkthrough. Red Mountain Stage 3 involves navigating tracks and bombing pillars. It then details how to find all gold cards in 12 steps, using puzzles involving switches and bombs. The guide also covers the Hades boss, Orion, explaining how to defeat him by targeting his hands, hat, and exploiting his lava-induced dizziness. The walkthrough then moves to White Glacier Stage 1, focusing on puzzle solving. Players must bomb signs for avalanche clues, navigate slopes, and use ski lifts. The stage involves exploring caves for items. The guide emphasizes the tip's official nature, validated by Nintendo, ensuring quality. This guide for Wario Land 3, titled Win with Wario, details strategies for various stages and bosses. The Stage 1 Gold Cards section covers finding 3 cards, emphasizing the need for destruction, win navigation, and a mountain trek. The Regulus boss battle strategy involves using bombs to stun him, and utilizing a force field before the timer runs out. White Glacier Stage 3 gold cards requires careful maneuvering through icy slopes and avoiding obstacles. Stage 3 gold cards, separate from the prior section, highlights more tree bombing for card acquisition. The Mantis boss fight strategy involves avoiding hits in its shadow, attacking its pincers when it hits the wall, and finally getting a card from its stomach after escalating attacks. The issue also teases upcoming Bomberman 64, the second attack, guides. This page is a full-page advert for Clearasil Complete. You know, the spot cream. It's got two lads, one looking well pleased with himself and touching his face, probably because his skin's clear as day thanks to this stuff apparently. The other one's looking a bit miffed, with a speech bubble saying, "I wish you'd never started," which I suppose is a bit of cheeky banter about spots. Or maybe he wishes the first lad never started using Clearasil and is now showing off. They reckon it's 5 times better than ordinary soap, and helps stop spots before they even appear. A bit of 90s skincare for you right there. Warrior welcomes readers to his treehouse, urging them to participate in competitions. The page primarily focuses on Diddy Kong Racing, highlighting the Premier League, with best times listed for various tracks. Tony Moraes dominates the early course rankings, setting impressive times. The magazine challenges readers to beat these times. Beyond Diddy Kong Racing, there are challenges for GoldenEye 007 and Mario Kart 64. GoldenEye challenges focus on kill counts and completion times on specific levels. Mario Kart 64 challenges involve time trials on various tracks, encouraging shortcut usage. Diddy Kong Racing gets further promotion with open invitations for submitting best times to update the league. Featured are photos of past winners, showcasing the competition's ongoing nature. This page highlights N64 challenges. The focus is on leaderboards for Lilat Wars, Star Fox 64, with a Finnish player leading the hits. Top Gear Rally's Strip Mine track has Jason La Rosa at the top. Mario Kart 64's Royal Raceway sees Reina de Veit of the Netherlands in first. The page also features a Take Your Pick section, encouraging players to submit photo proof of their scores. Additional challenges are added for Nagano Winter Olympics and Snowboard Kids. Readers are encouraged to submit scores for recognition, with entries due by May 15, 1998. This is a review of Quake on the N64, hailed as the ultimate horror shoot-'em-up. The review positions Quake as a classic shooter, comparing it to titles like Turok and GoldenEye, and suggesting N64 owners will love it as much as PC gamers. Developed by Knoll Software, the team behind Doom, Quake offers a dark, atmospheric experience with space marines battling demons across 25 levels. The player, as an exorcist, must find runes and defeat the demon Shub-Niggurath. The review mentions a completed level in 30 minutes with a focus on secrets and enemy kills. The game, published by GT Interactive, was released in April 1998 for £49.99. Key game details are provided: a 3D shooter playable by 1 to 2 players, featuring deathmatch mode, a 64 meg cart, and save functionality via a memory pack. This page explores the N64 version of Quake, outlining its 5 episodes. Episode 1, Dimension of the Doomed, offers a standard tech-based setting. Episode 2, The Realm of Black Magic, introduces a medieval theme and new enemies like the Death Knight. Episode 3, The Netherworld, returns to futuristic levels. Episode 4, The Elder World, hints at increased complexity. Episode 5, Shub-Niggurath's Pit, culminates in a final showdown. The page also provides helpful tips, including shooting red panels for shotgun shells, finding health through swimming, and discovering secret rooms by diving into slime. The Quake Mysteries section emphasizes the presence of secret levels, encouraging players to search for hidden switches and listen for audio cues. Exploration is key to uncovering these secrets and extra items, a core element of the Quake experience. This review of Quake on the N64, dubbed Gun Club, details the game's weaponry. The axe is a last resort, followed by the shotgun, effective up close but limited. The rocket launcher is powerful but hazardous to the user. The Thunderbolt offers bursts of lightning, while the grenade launcher allows for bouncing explosives. The double-barreled shotgun excels at close range, and the nail gun and super nail gun offer rapid-fire attacks, albeit with heavy ammo consumption. Control Freaks then discusses the N64 controls, adapting the PC's mouse and keyboard setup. Movement is handled by the 3D stick, with the right shoulder button enabling free look. The review notes the potential clunkiness compared to a mouse, but highlights customizable controls, including an option similar to Turok's. The C buttons are used for jumping and sidestepping, the top R button for free look, and the Z trigger for firing. The text reviews Quake on the N64, criticizing the lack of 4-player mode, a casualty of level downsizing to fit the console's limitations. Despite its better graphics than GoldenEye, the single-player focus meant no multiplayer deathmatch. The review also discusses the limited boss encounters in Quake, detailing the strategy to defeat Chthon. The page also features 2 advertisements. One is for Gamesters console games specialists, offering discounted used games for N64, PlayStation and Saturn. The other, Console Exchange, offers cash or exchanges for old consoles and games. Both are typical late 90s video game shop ads. This Quake bestiary from a magazine review humorously ranks Quake's monsters out of 10. Grunts, 2/10, and Rottweilers, 1/10, are easily dispatched. More formidable foes include Fiends, 7/10, and Shamblers, 8/10, while Zombies and Enforcers both score a 4/10. Scrags earn a 6/10. Knights are 3/10, and Ogres are 5/10. Death Knights and Rotfish each receive a 4 and 3 respectively. The Deadly Vor gets a 9/10, and the Spawn an 8/10. The guide offers a quick overview of each monster's threat level and weaknesses, making it a fun and helpful reference for players. This review compares Quake 64 to other N64 shooters. Hexen is dismissed as slow and with poor multiplayer. Doom 64 has weaker graphics and no multiplayer. Turok lacks Quake's atmosphere, and also has no multiplayer. Duke Nukem 64 is cartoony, but the 2-player mode is better. GoldenEye is considered the main competition, offering more depth in single-player, and excellent multiplayer. But Quake's deathmatch levels are more tactical. Quake 64's deathmatch mode is praised. The graphics are slightly squashed but detailed. Paul Glancy is impressed with the N64 version, highlighting its immersive and tense atmosphere, and excellent sound. The Date. Quake 64 receives high scores, 95% for graphics, 90% for sound, 93% for playability, and 92% for lastability, resulting in an overall score of 92%. The review calls it an awesome shooter that challenges GoldenEye, recommending players don't miss it. The review praises Weetrix for Nintendo 64, calling it an essential buy. It's a puzzle game that deviates from the Tetris mold, described as addictive and captivating enough to halt office productivity. The gameplay involves building land with blocks to contain water, then using fireballs to evaporate it for points, with a rainbow multiplier for high scores. The core loop of building and steaming water evolves into deeper strategic gameplay. The review provides game details. Published by Ocean, priced at £49.99, released in May 1997 US and May 1998 UK. It's a puzzle game supporting 2-player competitive multiplayer, utilizing a 64 meg cart, with high score saving functionality. Overall, the review is positive, emphasizing Weetrix's addictive puzzle mechanics and recommending it to readers. This text provides a detailed look at Weetrix's gameplay modes and elements, building on the previous page's positive review. A Drop in the Ocean details 6 game modes: Wet Boy Classic for high scores, Mo Challenge for fast rounds, Bernie Pro for a higher difficulty, Quake Handicap for chaotic play, Bomb Bomb Practice for beginners, and Spike Multiplay for split-screen battles. Bits and Pieces describes the items: Uppers build land, Downers remove it, Water fills lakes, Fireballs steam lakes for points, Ducks boost scores, Bombs clear land, and Rainbow multipliers are included. Ice Cube warnings are also mentioned. Slot into Place covers the controls, which use the analog stick or D-pad for movement and buttons for rotation, with increasing speed as the game progresses. The text suggests Weetrix offers diverse gameplay experiences with a good variety of items and modes. Weetrix's review continues, detailing gameplay mechanics and strategies. Mine, All Mine highlights the increasing difficulty, as the game adds hazards like ice cubes and mines. Players must quickly repair damage from mines to avoid trouble. 2-player mode, 2 can spray that game, alters gameplay with a second gauge for attacks, launched via the ZIZ trigger. The type of attack depends on the water's color upon entry, with black sections causing the most disruption. Paint the whole world with a rainbow introduces the rainbow multiplier, active when water levels are high. Draining your lake during this earns bonus points and spawns ducks, significantly boosting your score. The Tricky Lake Show discusses strategy. Maintaining a single large lake is risky but scores higher. Alternatively, multiple smaller lakes provide safety but offer lower scores, and having 5 resets the landscape. This review dives into the gameplay of Weetrix, highlighting its core mechanics. The Quake warning meter adds tension, requiring players to strategically use bombs to avoid a game-over earthquake. The review offers helpful tips like building large lakes early, big is best, saving space for bombs away, and utilizing square pieces for bonus ducks. What's the quack? The game also features a massive attack bonus and a rainbow multiplier for high scores. Sean White initially doubted the game, but now sees it as a potential hit, even comparing it to Tetris, and prefers the single-player mode. The review awards Weetrix impressive scores: 90% for graphics, 91% for sound, 88% for playability, and a remarkable 94% for lastability, resulting in a 91% overall score. The reviewers praise the graphics, sound design, easy controls, and addictive nature of the game. This review praises Mystical Ninja, starring Goemon on the N64, calling it an essential buy. The game, a return for the series, is lauded as one of the best console adventures ever, showcasing Konami's Japanese weirdness, with strange characters, jokes, and dialogue. The review highlights classic Goemon humor and the patented extender pipe. The plot involves a peach-shaped UFO, Peach Mountain shoguns, and kidnapping, typical Goemon craziness. The game, developed by Konami, released in April 1998 for £59.99, is a single-player adventure. Despite a somewhat vague description of its gameplay, the game receives a 74% score, solidifying the magazine's positive streak of N64 title reviews. This review introduces the Japantastic Four from Mystical Ninja: Goemon, Ebisumaru, Yae, and Sasuke. Each character boasts unique weapons and abilities. Goemon, a rogue, uses a pipe and coins. Ebisumaru, a bosom buddy, wields a hammer. Yae, a secret agent, employs a katana. And Sasuke, a robot ninja, utilizes kunai and bombs. The review highlights each character's advanced weapons: Goemon's hookshot and flaming coins, Ebisumaru's meat-saw hammer, Yae's sword shield and bazooka, and Sasuke's cracker bombs and cold kunai. Furthermore, the characters unlock magical abilities via subgames. Ebisu shrinks, Goemon gets super strength, Yae becomes a mermaid, and Sasuke flies. This article previews unusual features of Mystical Ninja starring Goemon on the N64. Impact Shockwave lets you control Impact, a giant robot, to smash buildings and then engage in first-person robot boxing battles. You'll collect medals and use weapons like chain pipes and lasers. Enter the Dragon details dragon-based public transport. Hypnotized by a flute, the dragon acts as a taxi to previously visited locations, including coffee shops. The article also highlights Talk to the Animals, where wildlife can offer clues. Finally, a side quest involves Benkai, Ashiwaka the Knight, and fishing, ultimately rewarding you with Benkai's Achilles heel. The next page is a review for Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. The headline suggests it's got the visual style of Mario 64, but the gameplay leans more towards Zelda, which is a fair enough point when you look at it. The screenshots show some familiar Goemon elements like the hookshots, back from the old Game Boy days, and those addictive prize machines. You remember spending ages on those. Musical transporters and properly lethal tiles are also making a return, which is good to see. The review section, called Evil Weebles, mentions a couple of the bosses, King Robot Congo and Darumanyo, saying they're not too tough if you figure out their weakness. Paul Glancy's comment gives a decent overview, saying it's got that classic Super NES Goemon vibe, despite the story being a bit out there, and the translation being rather literal. He highlights the sub-games and puzzles, and reckons the graphics are decent, but the camera, like many early 3D games, can be a bit fiddly. He recommends not being put off by the Japanese quirks, calling it a great action adventure, and gives it a very respectable 90%. Looking at the scores breakdown, graphics get 89, sound 85, playability 92, and lastability 85. Interest levels seem high for a good while, month, or even a year. Solid review and score overall. This review blasts Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero, questioning its very existence. The reviewer, clearly unimpressed, sets a negative tone early on. They note the game's 2D scrolling adventure style and connection to the less successful MK trilogy on N64. The story, involving Sub-Zero, Shao Kahn, and Scorpion, is summarized as basic: kick a few heads and try not to die. The review highlights the game's technical details, published by GT Interactive, costing £49.99, a single-player beat-em-up with password and memory pack saves. The review's overall sentiment is scathing, culminating in a caption urging readers to avoid the game entirely. It seems this Mortal Kombat spin-off is a major disappointment. Mortal Kombat Mythologies. Sub-Zero receives a scathing review. The reviewer criticizes the game's 2D scrolling beat-em-up style on the N64, control issues, and lack of inspiration. While the gore receives a positive mention, the review highlights a decline in the series since 1993, pinning hopes on Mortal Kombat 4. The reviewer, Tim Street, calls it an inept programming job, and fears it will hurt the N64. Breakdown scores for strategy, action, and originality are low. Graphics score well, but sound, playability, and lastability are poor. The overall score is a dismal 46%, with the reviewer urging players to avoid the game. Aero gauge for the N64 is heavily criticized, with reviewers calling it an F-Zero rip-off that fails to capture the original's quality. The reviewer is clearly yearning for a fast-paced racing game, but finds Aero gauge disappointing, anticipating F-Zero X, and hoping other developers will deliver. The review, titled It's a Bore 4, describes the game's 4 tracks: Canyon Rush, Chinatown, Bikini Island, Fukuoka City, and standard modes, Grand Prix, Time Attack, etc. Screenshots and track descriptions suggest a lack of excitement. Developed by ASC2, the game was released in May 1998 at £59.99. It was a 64 meg cart supporting 12 players with a 2-player mode, offering memory pack support for race times. The review paints Aero gauge as a major letdown. This review of Aero gauge is overwhelmingly negative. The game's tutorial on boosting, dubbed Off to a Flyer, is compared unfavorably to other racing games like Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart 64, and Extreme G. The reviewer critiques the game's pole position mechanics, though they do like the vehicles and their stats. Multiplayer is deemed dull after eliminations. The reviewer, Sean White, trashes the game, calling it a nightmare and a letdown compared to F-Zero X. He criticizes the limited tracks, the ridiculous turbo system, and the overall experience, recommending players stay away. The ratings reflect this sentiment. Graphics are okay, sound is repetitive, playability is adequate, and lastability is poor due to the short lifespan. The final score is a dismal 51%, with the review concluding that it's a pile of rubbish. This review focuses on the Game Boy adaptation of James Bond 007, playfully positioning it as an alternative for those envious of the N64's GoldenEye. The game is described as a spy adventure with Zelda-like exploration and action elements. Players assume Bond's role in a mission to find Agent 008 and stop smugglers, featuring classic Bond tropes. Gameplay involves searching for weapons like revolvers and missile launchers, and gathering clues from locals. The game offers action sequences and mini-games like Blackjack and Baccarat, showcasing typical Game Boy graphics. The reviewer praises the blend of action and adventure, despite finding it somewhat easy. Awarding it an 85%, the review concludes that it's a worthwhile handheld experience. This vintage advert from Gameplay showcases their offerings to N64 gamers. They advertised price, choice, quality, service, emphasizing their position as Britain's largest mail-order supplier. The focus is on N64 console bundles, with popular games like Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye. The ad features a comprehensive list of N64 games, competitive prices, and accessories like joypads, official and third-party, steering wheels, memory cards, and even a cheat device. A forward-thinking section highlights second-hand games, offering a 90-day guarantee. The advertisement closes with a mail-order form, a reminder of pre-internet shopping methods. Club Mario, a reader participation section, offers prizes like Nintendo 64 memory cards and force feedback units. One reader, Sandip Sekon, complains about not winning, but gets a consolation prize. Adam Spencer humorously recounts falling for an April Fool's joke, and ONM offers a light-hearted response. Another reader, Gokhan Kurt, criticizes Mario's Hammer Time, but ONM encourages a more relaxed perspective. The section also features a Create Your Own Superhero contest, with a humorous example combining Mario, Donkey Kong, and B. Orchid. Finally, a reader spots a Nintendo villain during geography class. This issue of the magazine features reader feedback, including complaints about Club Mario's Quake opinions and a passionate discussion about game reviews. One reader criticizes the high scores given to Turok, Dinosaur Hunter compared to GoldenEye 007. The magazine defends its reviews, acknowledging score inflation and justifying delays in guide publication for comprehensive content. Other features include a competition for readers to design a cover for the magazine, and a crossword puzzle called Name That Game, with clues related to popular titles like 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, Ocarina of Time, and Banjo-Kazooie. The letter of the month discusses Yoshi's Story's review score, with the magazine defending the rating and criticizing GamesMaster for not highlighting the game's true complexity. Finally, a Yoshi Story-themed drawing is showcased as Picture of the Month. Acclaim is thanked for providing prizes. A reader proposes a fictional game, ONM the Game, where the mascot seal and staff battle monsters in a hostage scenario. A new Euroreview section allows readers to review N64 games for prizes, drawing criticism for potentially seeking cheap content. A letter disputes FIFA 64's low score, with ONM defending its stance, favoring ISS 64. A reader inquires about Mystical Ninja starring Goemon's release date. C-Mail announces Seal's departure for Hollywood, with a humorous exchange of insults between Seal and a reader. Mario's hit list previews next month's content, including a PlayStation feature and an IS-98 comparison. Mario's Hammer Time concludes by smashing a Mega Drive controller, showing Nintendo Magazine's stance during those times. This page is a subscription advert for the official Nintendo magazine. Can't go wrong with that back in the day. They're pushing a 3 for free deal on a yearly sub, meaning you get 12 issues but only pay for 9, saving you a whole £7.50, which was decent pocket money back then. They're really going for it with Mario and Yoshi on the sample covers, classic Nintendo faces to draw you in, plus a football game, probably World Cup 98 fever hitting hard at this point. Looks like they're promising all the usual mag stuff. News, reviews, cheats, guides, the lot. They're also teasing an 8-page playtest, which would have been the hot ticket. And it seems you could even get some freebies like combat guides and posters, typical mag-free gifts to get you hooked. Good times, simpler times. This magazine page showcases N64 goodies, including Master Blaster packs with gold controllers and game bundles like GoldenEye and Quake, though pricey at over £140. Numerous game deals are highlighted, such as World Cup 98, Quest 64, and Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, the latter offering a free t-shirt. Popular titles like GoldenEye 007, Yoshi's Story, and sports games like NBA Pro 98 are also promoted. The page includes a comprehensive list of N64 games and their prices, alongside ads for accessories like memory cards, Game Boy emulators, t-shirts, and speakers. Controllers are heavily featured, with a variety of brands and features, and special offers like free memory cards with select game purchases. It's a glimpse into the era, attempting to entice gamers to spend on the latest Gen 64 offerings. Excitement Direct's retro gaming page showcases a variety of classic consoles and accessories. They heavily feature Nintendo products, with a focus on the N64, offering steering wheels, rumble packs, and a selection of US games. The page also includes a Wii Swap section for trading in Nintendo games. Beyond the N64, the page highlights Super NES games, listing various titles with prices, and offers for the original Game Boy, bundled with games and a free calculator. PlayStation is also briefly advertised with a console bundle. The page concludes with sections for N64 cables, cheat devices, and miscellaneous items like cases and t-shirts, demonstrating a comprehensive mail-order catalog for Nintendo enthusiasts. This page is all about Masters 98 on the N64, another golf game for the console. Seems like they're trying to make a big deal about it being the first proper golf game on the system after some dodgy efforts on earlier consoles. They mention Pebble Beach and St. Andrews, so they're clearly aiming for that serious golf sim vibe. Graphically they seem impressed, saying the visuals are a step up, which is fair enough for the time. N64 graphics were decent back then, but they also point out that gameplay-wise, it's not massively different from older golf games. Same old as they put it. Bit of a backhanded compliment there. One of the big selling points they mention is the camera angles, saying you can switch perspectives and get a bird's eye view, which was probably quite snazzy for a golf game, on the N64. They also mention the drawback is only having Augusta as a course, which is a bit tight really, even if it is a famous one. Overall, it sounds like they think it's a decent enough golf game for the N64, good looking, but maybe not massively innovative and a bit stingy on the courses. This review of Wile Country Club for the N64 under the 64 view banner, describes a standard golf game experience. The core gameplay involves a typical power gauge system to hit the ball, and features familiar modes like single round, match play, and stroke play. A trick up your sleeve section highlights the ability to add spin for more control. The reviewer, Sean White, finds the game better than Masters 98, but still lacking compared to other N64 sports titles. He describes it as undemanding, and ultimately lukewarm, suggesting the game doesn't live up to the standards set by older golf games on the Super NES. The overall feeling is one of disappointment, with a longing for a more engaging golf experience on the N64. Fist of the Flying Dragon for the N64 is presented as a unique beat-em-up, despite the existing competition. Marketed as 2 games in 1 with its Flying Dragon twin feature, the game, from Culture Brain, Neo Geo, promises an earth-shaking experience. Screenshots highlight defensive mechanics, special moves, and damage points. Game modes include Virtual Fighter for arcade-style battles with 8 characters, featuring tournaments and multiplayer, with a more realistic character style. Interdimensional Fighting offers both 2D and 3D gameplay, with the Z trigger used for sidestepping in the 3D mode. The game stats include a beat-em-up style with 18 players, VS and team battle modes. Although it was a Japanese release, its memory pack saved progress. The game aims to differentiate itself within the N64 fighting game market. Geha. Flying Dragon on the N64 features a super deformed SD mode with tournaments for item collection and cash prizes. Over 200 items can be acquired, leading to potential grinding. Winning also supposedly impresses girls. SD mode features cute, manga-like characters with simpler controls. Hiryu is the only character available in both normal and SD forms. A secret wax-on, wax-off move is teased. Dojo training mode is included for practicing moves, though the manual is suggested to be confusing. Paul Glancy's review deems Flying Dragon mediocre, criticizing the treasure game menus and suggesting Fighter's Destiny as a superior alternative. He advises waiting for the American version, if interested, but ultimately recommends against it. This page then, crikey, talk about a throwback. It's an advert for a sports magazine called Sported. Proper 90s vibes all over it with that bright blue and red design. Very flashy. They're really pushing it as the flashiest sports magazine out. It was only £1, mind you, and promised to be on sale every 2 weeks, so you'd see it at the newsagents all the time back then. Looking at the covers they've got plastered all over, it's all the big names from back then. Zola in his Chelsea kit, talking to Sported no less, Tim Henman for Wimbledon, Prince Nazim with his boxing gloves, and Damon Hill, grinning like a Cheshire cat after winning something or other in F1. Then there's Michael Jordan, because of course there is, Lev Ferdinand in his Newcastle strip, and Mike Tyson looking mean as ever. Oh, and David James, bless him, used to be Liverpool's #1 back then apparently. Seems like they were covering everything: footy, tennis, boxing, F1, basketball, even BMX bandits and skateboarding for the cool kids. They were really going for it with the sports facts and pull-out guides, classic magazine fodder in it. What a result, it shouts, a proper catchy slogan for the time. Probably had posters and all sorts in it, aimed straight at us lot back then who were glued to Match of the Day and Grandstand every weekend. Ah, simpler times. This advertisement from Special Reserve, a mail-order gaming company, showcases the late 90s gaming scene. It features affordable Nintendo 64 consoles and a variety of accessories, including controllers and memory cards. The N64 game selection is extensive, with titles like GoldenEye 007 and Diddy Kong Racing. Super NES games such as Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario Kart are also highlighted. Pocket Game Boys and games like Buster Move 3 are listed too. The advertisement rounds off with PlayStation top games, such as Resident Evil 2 and Grand Theft Auto. Special Reserve offered an annual membership with a magazine, cheat book, and a choice of free gifts, reflecting the era's emphasis on physical media and freebies. The magazine teases its next issue, claiming to be bigger and better with exclusive news and a great deal. The mock-up cover highlights upcoming game coverage including Turok 2, Yoshi's Story, GoldenEye 007 Multiplayer, Forsaken 64, GT Club, and ISS 98. Reviews feature Diddy Kong Racing, receiving a good score. The Total Test section reviews various N64 games, like Bomberman 64, Duke Nukem 64, and F1 Pole Position 64, along with accessories. The magazine also mentions testing several third-party controllers. The issue concludes with a promise of game guides and cheats, a common tactic to encourage readers to purchase the next issue. This Nintendo magazine cover aggressively promotes itself as the biggest and best. It highlights its official status and boasts about being the first to offer exclusive N64 game previews, guides, and extensive coverage. The cover promises news and previews, exclusive N64 content, and game guides, targeting the N64 fanboy. Featured games include Banjo-Kazooie, promising a massive first play, GoldenEye, and the legendary Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Freebies, such as a tips booklet and a hang tag, are advertised. The magazine also features an official tips section with hundreds of gameplay techniques. A competition to win copies of Banjo-Kazooie is also promoted. The cover's layout and features aimed to attract readers. This magazine page is a nostalgic look back at the Nintendo 64 era. It heavily promotes the upcoming release of Banjo-Kazooie, billing it as a potential rival to Super Mario 64. The page offers a world first play preview and a chance to win a copy of the game. It also includes game guides for Quake, tips for N64 gaming, and how-to sections for GoldenEye, Weetrix, Bomberman and Forsaken. A Played to Bits section reviews several games like World Cup 98. An updated section highlights upcoming releases. Screenshots and the usual staff credits fill the page. The magazine also offers subscription information and back-issue prices. It's a standard magazine layout, typical for the time, aiming to provide N64 news and content. This page is a full-on advert for snowboard kids on the N64. Board Crazy, they're calling it, which is a bit on the nose, isn't it? It's pushing the whole extreme snowboarding vibe, saying it's for gravity junkies, doing stunts and going fast. They're even making the bold claim it's like Mario Kart on ice because of the rocket launchers. Bit of a stretch, but I see what they're getting at. Trying to grab that Mario Kart crowd. Cheeky. Gyua. It's got that cartoonish style, colourful characters doing their thing on snowboards. They're bragging about 4-player mayhem and rumble pack support so you can feel every wipeout. Alright, we get it, it's immersive. They're slapping an 88% review score from N64 magazine on it, which is pretty good I suppose, and they're trying to flog it for £39.99. Standard N64 price back then could have bought a decent used SNES for that, just saying. Right at the bottom, they're still banging on about the N64 being the fastest, most powerful games console on Earth. Marketing, eh? Still, snowboard kids, yeah, it was a decent enough racer at the time if you were into that sort of thing. This page is pushing aero gauge right in your face with fast, faster, fastest across the top. Very subtle. It's another racer. This time, it's all about speed apparently, boasting speeds over 1,000 miles per hour, which is just daft, isn't it? They're going on about vertical and horizontal vehicle maneuvering and beautifully rendered 64-bit graphics, which, to be fair, for the time, weren't bad. They're trying to sound all tough with the tagline, "Don't flatter yourself." Bit aggressive for a racing game advert, isn't it? Underneath they're saying no more constraints, and banging on about it being the most mind-tingling, joypad-melting game out there. Standard marketing spiel. Apparently you get speeds off the scale, skill-bending courses and graphics that make your eyes water with realism. Bit much, lads. They're listing bullet points of features, speeds over 1,000 miles per hour, vertical and horizontal movement, 64-bit graphics, 5 vehicles with hidden ones to find, 4 courses with canyons, tunnels, oceans and mountains, and 4 play modes. Sounds like they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. There are some screenshots of the game looking all futuristic and speedy. Very wipeoutish if you ask me. They've got their website address at the bottom, www.ashai.co.uk, remember dial-up. And of course the Nintendo 64 and ASC2 logos at the bottom just to remind you what console we're on and who's bringing you this masterpiece. Aero gauge, yeah, I vaguely remember it. Wasn't exactly setting the world on fire, was it?